Hi. Hey, it's Brian, the eccentric uncle. Welcome to my living room. Let me take a few minutes, or not a few minutes, just let me take the top 10, bring them in, and there's a new thing on here, event logs. I don't know what that means. But let me go ahead and get this going here. And then we're going to have a fun day tonight. We're going to talk about the Carolinas. Hey, Leonard. Thanks for chiming in. Hey, by the way, a day in a life in the shadows of the eccentric uncle. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. Don't give up, don't give in, and don't give it away, ever. Now, I'm going to introduce you to North Carolina. This is Carolina Blue. Go Panthers. Yes, it's a sports notation. Then we have the sunshine over here, and that's the ocean. And then over here, we have the mountains, the green. So we get all welcome to North Carolina. So what I'm going to be reading is that, and I think because it's shorter than I thought it was, I want to know what this event log is. Just a second. I'm going to click on it. Oh, never mind. That's new, but I don't need it. Let me get my story up here. Oh, just a second. I kind of forgot to bring it back up. All right. One more second here. A little bit bigger. Who doesn't like things bigger? Okay. North Carolina has incredible beauty and history. The waterfalls in Transylvania County are picturesque. They are perfect for the dreamer in you. The ocean's like bathwater, the ocean is like bathwater and is so warm, unlike the Pacific Ocean, which is frigid. Brrr. When you go in, one thing won't happen, and that is your nipples won't perk up. Some like it, and some like it when it happens, and some don't. For me, it's kind of homoerotic when you show a little firmness somewhere. And the battlefields in battlefields, both revolutionary and civil wars, are everywhere, and you feel the past come alive. Regarding the Revolutionary War, what I appreciated were the plaques that were placed by the daughters of the Revolution in homage to those who fought that war. Those who created our incredible country's beginnings were honored by this group. I put that in for my mother. She's a DAR member. Each field I visited hit a person's spot in my heart, because without those heroes, we probably would still be a territory of Britain. The sites for this era are more than war sites, but much more. There are homes, businesses, parks, ships, and the list goes on. The Civil War is still felt harshly in all peoples. One of the saddest notes that I learned was that the war wasn't really that long ago. I'd read the letters of slave relatives of my friends, along with the viewing of those incredible photos showing how people lived back then. I'd seen plantations with slave quarters, and they're not very inviting and in slum-like conditions. My friends also shared their stories with me of their tragedy, of their history. Seeing everything presented up front and close put the controversy in perspective. Thank you for sharing and the actual truth of what occurred and for allowing me into your personal space. After that experience, I now share the truth to those who listen. Friends, always. Empathy was the lesson learned here. For the white slave owners, they lost everything, including their way of life as they knew it. Now, I'm not favoring the slave owners. I'm just bringing up the other side of this drastic and heartfelt ordeal. Right or wrong, they have a side to tell as well. In the end, today we are all equals, and we are all equal, and we all live together as one in our great democracy. Just look at the harsh reality of what it took to get here, and we do need to continue building a stronger bridge. But we finally endured, and here we are today. Bridge over troubled waters, Simon and Garfunkel. My tip: look, listen, and emphasize with those who've had troubled beginnings. Learn from their stories and truly understand what people have endured. The state has both modern cities and historic, charming towns. Charlotte is the second largest banking city in the country and outside of New York. Mary Rich, come here. Raleigh has over 10 universities and is the land of tech. Mary Smart, come here. Asheville with the Biltmore estate has an Art Deco style of architecture. It's also nestled in the Parkway and is full of color to soak up. For the artists in you, come here. I was going to put the oranges and the reds and the yellows and the greens just to make that specific spot, but I have another story that I can do that. So I know. Okay, I don't know where I'm at. Just a second. Okay, there we go. I know you remember Ann Mayberry RFD with Barney Fife. It's definitely an ageless show. Well, the real town is called Mount Airy, which is on the border of Virginia on Highway 74, that is just north of Charlotte. Sheriff Taylor's car is parked in town for viewing. Definitely enjoy a pork chop sandwich at Snappy Diner. I've had one and it was delicious. One last spot in town is to visit Floyd's Barbershop. You can have your picture taken there and have it placed on the wall. Try to find mine. Good luck on that. This is definitely a fun town to pop over and visit. Of course, this is the land of Krispy Kreme, which is based in Winston-Salem. My favorite is the real cream-filled chocolate frosted donut. And there is so much more to explore. I absolutely love Western North Carolina. I'm seriously considering on relocating back there, and if I do, Asheville would do it for me. I've been very lucky to experience all that I've mentioned and more. For me, I wasn't just living here, but considered every day a vacation with something different and new to see and experience. My song, This Is My Favorite Place, Steve Kellogg and the Sixers. My tip, pick your favorite place to visit and cherish it. 2000, I had to go pick up my furniture in Boston, but I had to make time, I spit my tongue. But I had to make time to go pick it up and bring it back. Finally, the time became available where I began my assignment with a one-way, where am I at here? Come on. Just a second here. Where am I? I don't know where I'm at here. Just hold on. There we go. A one-way flight to Manchester Airport in New Hampshire. After staying a couple of days, I grabbed a U-Haul truck, packed it up with all my stuff, and off I went to return back south. Here's a little fact. It's humid back east. But as you drive south, the humid gets stronger, thicker, and heavier. I did plan to visit and enjoy some history while driving on my way back to my new abode. Since I previously toured Boston, I passed up the sightseeing here. Beware, the redcoats are coming. Back in the day, Paul Revere used a horse to tell everyone. Today we have the internet. I decided to take 2 days to complete my drive home, which included stopping and seeing the capitals along the way. I began my drive through Providence. I had to check out the Capitol and skyline. I continued on and had to visit Mystic Peaks, Connecticut. This town is very charming and sits on Long Island Sound. This is where the movie Mystic Pizza was filmed. I had to stop here for that reason alone. And there it was, the pizza joint from the movie, and I had to try some tasty pizza. How exciting was that? I continued down Interstate 95 through New Haven, Bridgeport, and drove through their downtown corridors, of course, to scope their skylines. I had previously visited New York, so I hadn't planned on stopping there either. I wanted to go over the George Washington Bridge and into New Jersey, and I had to go through Yonkers. I was terribly mistaken by this poor judgment going that route. Those drivers were very aggressive and not patient with my U-Haul on the road. There was a lot of honking and cussing. I couldn't even count the many fingers that were directed my way. I couldn't wait to get out of there. My song, Weekend in New England, Barry Manilow. My tip, with such a small area and so many states, there's always something to experience. Okay. Where am I at now? Sorry, you guys. There were a couple of interests that I had to see in New Jersey. I drove past Meadowlands Sports Complex for my father. By the way, the name is misleading since it is in reality it's actually a swampland. My must and requirement was the state capitol in Trenton, and one of two of the most historical pieces of my part of my trip was Washington Crossing. It's just a simple bridge, but this is where George Washington crossed the Delaware. Just close your eyes and imagine being back there and what you would see. 300 men crossing that river in a heavy winter storm on Christmas Day. If they didn't, we may not be a country today. So for me, this is one of my most important sights to see ever. We may not have been a country. That one spot is crazy. Now, this is history to experience for the mind. My fun was driving through every city on the way and enjoying the skylines, which included Philadelphia and Wilmington. My mission wasn't to visit the large cities, but the historic capitals and small, charming historical towns. Wow, I fell in love with Delaware. Well, actually, the city of Dover, which is the other most historical spot on my drive. Delaware happens to be the smallest state in the Union at only 2,491 square miles. It's just a blink in an eye, and be careful because you just might miss it. Dover, being, of course, the capital, was an obvious must-see for me. When I arrived there, I was taken back in what I walked into. When you walk through this township, you feel like you're back in time. You will be transported back to the period of the 1600s. I call this town a village of long ago, when I arrived, I was speechless, seeing all the historic style buildings with the ancient charm feel attached to it. This was a place that I could live and fantasize in. Those buildings are very significant to our nation's heritage, and I know why they are set aside and maintained for future generations to experience. Everyone should take the time and drive the East Coast and live the history that was made here. People need to know their place in history, to know where they came from. It is said that you learn from your past, and then that'll help you on your endeavors going forward. Everything builds on the previous experience, and with that said, change ultimately occurs in hopes that you won't make mistakes previously made. I know that some changes are difficult to recognize, but for one's survival is in today's society, we must accept it and we must change ourselves to adapt to it. Well, on to my last stop in the state, Rehoboth Beach. which is southeast of Dover on the Atlantic Ocean. I'd always wanted to come here to this gay heaven and to this gay haven, and now this opportunity had arisen. Hey, I can say I was there. I said it. This town is an adorable community with a very small, charming township center. I remembered having a hamburger at the restaurant, sitting in front and center window with my view that overlooked out onto the main street. Two things I liked to do at the same time: eat a burger and guy watch. Of course, I looked in my infamous Dameron's Guide and where I found a tasty drink and great conversation at a very pleasant and clean bar. And yes, that was a gay bar, by the way. And all I can say was for that town was that it's simple, quaint, friendly, and inviting. Thank you to the gays that I met in this beach town for showing me what this destination was all about. My song, We Didn't Start the Fire, Billy Joel. My tip: you get more out of living history than reading about it in a book. Now I'm on to Maryland and along the coast. It was time to rest and get some shut-eye. Ocean City looks, hears, and smells perfect for a good night's sleep. Hearing the ocean wave and breathing in the salty air, I think I had one of the best night's sleep I think I ever had. After I woke up and had breakfast and a latte, all I did was walk up and down the beach. Ocean City was cuddled between the Atlantic Ocean, which is the primary location for beaches, and the Isle of Wight Bay, which was on the Sound. Since the locals preferred the ocean side, I chose there. After the morning on the beach, off I went on my way. I couldn't believe how many states I'd gone through in one day. Unbelievably, 7. Let's compare this to my Texas drive. One day in 7 states equals to the same as I went through Texas. I have to tell you that there was so much more to see and experience in those 7. What I was thinking that I was almost home. I had 2 states left to go: Virginia and North Carolina. Not much here in sightseeing, but at least I can add Virginia to my trip of states. I'd only driven over the coastal part, which is a very small part of Virginia, and that alone, I'm not able to comment on my complete view of it. I actually went through another story, and I should put it in here. Anyway, I knew I would be visiting this state later on, and yes, I had. There we go. The only line of business in Eastern Virginia that I'm interested in was the infamous Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. I began on the bridge above ground, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the bay, it disappears underwater and turns into the tunnel and back up and to become a bridge again. The reason why is for shipping products in. That was kind of fun, and I was astounded by how it was made. After driving to Norfolk and Virginia Beach, I was on my way to the North Carolina border. Here is some trivia for you. Did you know that Virginia Beach is sinking? I'm curious how they are going to solve this issue. Will they follow the Netherlands? Now, I'm entering the great state of North Carolina by my new home. My energy had immensely depleted and became simply exhausted. I've got something historically interesting for you. Virginia Dare was the first English child born in America on Roanoke Island, North Carolina, in 1587. Home was so close, but yet so far, and I still had almost a full day's drive getting there. For that reason, I didn't do any stopping. Since I now resided here, I'd be visiting it often, and then drove on home and drove into bed. I don't even remember if I got undressed or not. Good night. There's no place like home, Randy Travis. I did that for my sister, country western. And my tip: Travel the world, but remember, you'll always have home to come back to. You guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that, and peace out. My computer is really slow. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Oh my gosh, Jack, David, Jeffrey, Mom, Les, and Leonard. Thanks, you guys.